Ninja Dice. This is a game that has not been released yet. Today I'm going to preview a prototype that the designer gave me when I met with him at Gen Con 2013. He also taught me the game. He seems to be a really nice guy. And this is a paid preview. It is important, I believe, that I put that disclaimer out there so that you, well, I don't know, you have more context as you watch this video. The game is going to be on Kickstarter soon, and, well, let me tell a little bit about it. The game comes in this very cute looking box, which can be used as a die. For example, you can use it to roll initiative at the beginning of the game. It's kind of cool. The game includes 3 sets of dice. A set of house dice. These dice are rolled and used to create the house that the active ninja is trying to rob, to get into, to steal secrets, whatever it is that ninjas do when they penetrate into other people's houses. This is what you're trying to do with the house that will be formed with these dice. Players represent ninjas, and in turn they will try to rob a house. The game lasts three rounds. In round 1, each player, when it is his turn, rolls 4 dice to create the house. In round 2, 5. In round 3, 6 dice. The more dice you have, the harder it is to complete the house. So this is one of the sets of dice that you have. Then you have a set of skill dice that the active player, the active ninja, rolls when attacking the house. And then you have threat dice that the other players, the non-active players, can use if the active ninja spends too much time in the house. Okay, so first, when it is your turn, you form the house. You roll the black dice, and they form, well, the house that you will try to attack. This is not a good roll for exemplification. There are different challenges that you may have to face. Locks, guards represented by helmets, and residents represented by residents. After you have your house, and suppose this is the house that I'm trying to beat and I'm the active player, then I roll my skill dice. And skill dice, well, it is important where they land, not just the symbol that they show. This is a mechanic that you don't see very often in dice game. I believe Dice Land has it, a mechanic that tells you that also the position where the dice land is important, but this is definitely what happens here. Now you will have some symbols that you will use to attack the house. For example, you have stealth symbols and attack symbols. Each such symbol can be used to defeat a resident or to defeat a guard. However, if you start defeating residents with stealth symbols, that is, you're trying to sneak past them, then you have to defeat all residents using stealth. If you attack a resident, then you have to defeat all residents with attack dice. You cannot mix and match. But you could, for example, sneak past all of the residents in a house using stealth and then defeat with attacks all of the guards of the house, or vice versa. You simply cannot defeat a single type of challenge, resident or guard, with multiple effects, with multiple skills. These symbols are not used at the present time. You use them only as defense when other players attack you. I'll explain that later. This symbol here is the lockpick, which can be used to defeat a lock. Now, look at the symbol here. This is very important. This is the reason why you should not move the dice after you roll them. I move them around to show you a couple of things about the game. But when you roll them, you look at the symbols and you do not move them. Because these symbols here, well, this symbol here, the luck symbol, the fortune symbol, interacts with other dice. You see how it has a line here? Well, you extend ideally that line ad infinitum, and then you also extend it forward. In other words, that line shows you what is the front of the dice, and the fortune dice can boost the effect of skill dice that are in front of it, that are on this side of that line, even though, again, they can be quite far a die. If here will still count as in front of that fortune die and can still be boosted by that fortune die. The combination of a fortune die with the skill die that is being boosted by the fortune die counts as 4 of the skill that is being boosted. For example, if I use that die to increase the value of that symbol, now that combination of the 2 dice together count as 4 lockpicks, which is pretty good. Now you rolled your dice and maybe you were able to pass all the challenges of the house, or maybe you weren't able and you would like to try your luck again. Maybe you want to re-roll any or all of your dice, which is great. You can do that, but if you do that, it means that you're spending extra time in the house and you're giving other players a chance to attack you. There is some sort of competition here. Ninja enters the house or tries to, and the other syndicates of ninjas, the other groups of ninjas, the other companies of ninjas try to disrupt the plans of the active ninja. The other players receive these dice, which are threat dice, and these dice are rolled in the hope of, well, doing bad stuff to the active player. Again, I'm not rolling things that really work well, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. If you roll an arrow, because the arrow has a similar line as the fortune die, well, arrows, spatially speaking, work as fortune dice. They can target dice that are in front of them, and when you target an opponent with an arrow, you can steal a coin from them. Coins are the currency in the game. They're used to record points. You rob houses to gain coins. You can steal coins from the other players, for example, by using the arrow symbols. You can use your arrow symbols to rob coins from the active player, but also from other non-active players that are threatening the active player if your arrow points towards a threat symbol rolled by another player that is not the active player. These symbols will prevent you from being attacked by arrows of the opponent. That is, will prevent you from losing coins when the opponents attack you. This one, this symbol here, the hourglass, when rolled is locked, and if all of the available threat dice show hourglasses, that means that too much time has passed, the active player has spent too much time in the house, and at that point it is too risky to stay there, the mission becomes impossible, the active player, the turn of the active player is over, and the active player doesn't score any points, which is pretty annoying. After the active player has rolled dice and possibly re-rolled, the active player counts victory points, counts coins. Each die of the house that was beaten is worth a coin. If the active player managed to beat all of the dice in a house, the active player gains a bonus of 2 extra coins. And if the active player didn't kill anybody, simply only used stealth, the active player gets an extra coin, an extra victory point. So players alternate trying to rob a 4 dice house in round 1, then they repeat the procedure with a 5 dice house, and then in a third round with a 6 dice house, which of course is much harder to take than the initial house, so it gets harder and harder to get the bonus for completing the full house. In any case, all players take turns trying to rob a house for 3 rounds, and at the end of round 3 the player with the highest amount of coins, the highest amount of victory points, is the winner. Now this clearly is a very simple game, very light. It is meant to be a filler, it is meant to be a push your luck type of game with some light strategy injected here and there. There is more strategy than in other simple dice games such as Zombie Dice or Marchand Dice. There is a much better pace than in dice games such as Chupacabra. That game is a disgrace. I don't even know why it came to my mind. Maybe because I saw somebody playing it at Gen Con 2013 and I just felt sad for them. In any case, Ninja Dice has more meat than let's say Martian dice or zombie dice. The spatial strategy adds a dimension to the game in that you will have these resources. You do not know exactly when and where you have them, but you have to choose the dice that you target. The push your luck factor, I don't know if it's an illusion of the design or if it is true that, again, there are more dimensions here because you have to take into account all the possible best stuff that can happen. You have to balance the number of dice that you still have not beaten in the house with the risks, of course, that trying to take those dice will imply. Getting the bonus for the completed house is sweet, but that exposes you to a lot of danger, of course. That is tricky too. Something that is very good about this game that I do not see, or at least I have not seen in other light dice games, is the interaction. Usually in light dice games, you roll your dice once, twice, 3 times, you score your points. Next, and the players go around the table. These games are very fast, so downtime is not usually a problem. But if you're playing with, say, 5 players, it can be not an issue, but a factor. Not here, because here, even when it is not your turn, you can still do a lot of damage. You can still annoy the opponents quite a bit by attacking them with your arrows during the threat phase, or when you're rolling your threat dice. Even more than that, you're the active player, you're having the excitement of attacking the house. You're the non-active player, you have the subtle evil pleasure of attacking the active player, and you're like, yes. At the same time, you can just sit back, relax, and shoot arrows because you yourself are in danger. Because even the players that are the non-active players and they're attacking the opponent, the active player, may be actually targeted by other players. So for example, this let's see, for example, something like this, yes, this non-active player has targeted this player here with that arrow, but then you have another non-active player that has targeted that non-active player. As a non-active player, you may steal money from other people, but you may also have money robbed from you. So there are reasons to be interested in the game, to be excited about the roll of the dice, even when you're the non-active player. You are active in a different way, I would say. You have less choices, but there's still some things that happen to you that are interesting and that keep you interested in the general flow of the game. To me, this is a big plus, possibly one of the best aspects of the design, that you're always involved in the game even when it is not your turn. The theme is fun. Yes, we're talking about assassins, but clearly the theme is treated in a very abstract, or in any case simplified, sanitized way. It is pretty cute. Just this mask here makes me think more of Ninja Mutant Turtles than just regular ninjas. The components are attractive. I think they will be even more attractive when the actual dice are released. The box, I think, is just a nice touch. This may not be, the most incredible, epic game that you will play this year, but it is definitely a light, nice, fun way of, spending 10 minutes, 15 minutes as a filler, as a warm-up game, as a game that can be quite cutthroat, but that overall remains light, not just in mechanics, but also in tone. Well, I think that this is a good game. Definitely I enjoyed playing it. I played it with other people at Gen Con in several occasions. We pretty much all enjoyed it. Some people were a little concerned that sometimes when you roll the threat dice, you may roll them in such a way that you're gaming the game a little bit, increasing your odds of hurting other people, maybe more than you should, just by rolling things randomly. But if that turns out to be a problem, and I didn't think it was, but I'm just saying some people thought that could be, then they're just way of rolling the dice. You just agree on where you roll the dice so that one player doesn't get an unfair advantage from rolling in a certain area of the table and being able to target a lot of dice. Maybe another player rolls another area of the table with less advantage. If you find that is a problem, you can easily correct it by making house rules about the location where the threat dice should converge. Overall, Ninja Dice, Nice, light, little fun game. It looks good. It is fun to play. Not epic, but for a light push your luck type of dice game, this is definitely a successful one. One that I think succeeds at doing what it is trying to do.